Welcome into another episode of the Marc My Word Show, the show where I say what I mean and I mean what I say. My name is Marcus-Lamar and I'm your host, and it's good to talk to you all again. I hope everybody out there is feeling good, is living good. I gotta admit, before we get the show started, I am a little bit under the weather. Now, that's not an excuse. I'm just being honest. I feel like I sound congested, but my friends and family tell me that I'm not. But nevertheless, I'm here to talk shit. It's what I do best. The number one internet shit talker in America. So we're going to get into some sports, some entertainment, some pop culture. But I want to start off by sharing a funny but not so funny story with you guys. Before I came in to record this podcast, I almost lost my AirPods. And if you own a pair of AirPods, you can relate. At least once a week, I lose, or at least lose one or two of my AirPods in some way, shape, or form. So this is what happened. I'm going to walk you guys through this story. I'm sitting in the car waiting to come into the recording studio. My AirPods are in my lap. Not in my ear, in my lap. Not inside the case either. As I'm getting out of the car to pay the meter, boom, both my AirPods fall into the middle of the street. Not only do they fall into the middle of the street, but there's a oncoming truck. Now I have a split decision to make. Do I run into the street to get my AirPod before this truck runs over them, or do I just leave them sitting there? I'm here to tell you guys, I'm still in possession of my AirPods. The truck didn't run over them. I'm still alive, so all's well that ends well. But I'm not going to lie, I thought about it. I really did think about it, because he was making a beeline, unintentionally, of course. There's no way he would have been able to see them. I saw them, and I said to myself, I can't go through another pair of AirPods. I've already lost a dozen of them, and it's just annoying having to repair them with your iPhone. So thankfully, my AirPods are still here. I'm in amazing spirits. I feel good physically outside of me having, I don't know what the hell I have. Could be cold, could be allergies, but we're here. Congestion and all, we are here. Another interesting thing happened to me yesterday. I went food shopping, which there are a couple of things that I hate as an adult. One, checking the mailbox. I hate checking the mailbox. All it is credit card companies harassing me, trying to get me to sign up for cards, which I don't even know how they receive my information if I've never even spoken to a representative from your institution. But that's a story for another day. We'll get into how credit card companies and banks are predatory in nature by sending us spam mail to our mailboxes. But I get it. Our information is being outsourced, and that's how they get a hold of it. Still annoying. But yesterday I went food shopping, which I hate, along with checking my mailbox, along with checking emails that I don't care about. So I'm looking for a shopping cart as I'm walking around the supermarket parking lot. Now, I'm not going to say which supermarket parking lot this is, because they are a business and I don't want any negative press to go towards them. I can't find a cart. Like, you know how when you go to a supermarket, when you return a cart to a certain area, they have about 4 or 5 of those stations all around the parking lot. I couldn't find a cart to save my life. So I walk into the supermarket. As I enter the supermarket, I ask the cashier, I say, hey, ma'am, I'm having difficulties finding a cart. Do you guys not have any? And she says, oh, no, they stole them. I said, excuse me? She said, yeah, they stole about 200 shopping carts. Now, I'm no math whiz, and I'm no longer a police officer, but I said, something's not adding up. Something about this story is just not adding up. How do you steal 200 shopping carts from a supermarket in broad daylight? That just doesn't make sense to me. And furthermore, how many people would you need working this operation to even pull off a stunt like this? So she said, what you can do is you can follow someone around the supermarket and just wait for them to be finished with what they're doing and just take their cart. I said, so you want me to follow someone around the supermarket in hopes that, they'll give me their cart? I said, it's fine. So what I ended up doing was I just had to get all of my items one by one. I sat them at the register, and I kept having to get out of line, get back in line, get out of line, get back in the line. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. I'm not going to that supermarket anymore until they rectify that cart problem. Furthermore, if the Los Angeles Police Department or Detectives Unit needs help or assistance in finding the culprits, please give me a call. Feel free to reach out to me, marcmywordsshow@gmail.com. I might have some leads for you all, because that is ridiculous. How do you steal 200 shopping carts from a supermarket? That doesn't even sound plausible. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just can't fathom how it happened. Like, how many people would you need to actually roll away 200 shopping carts? Or what the company needs to do is invest in those sensors that most supermarkets have, where once you step off of the grounds of the supermarket, it'll make noise or it'll lock up on you. Because this is Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm carrying 12 items in my hand with my phone, with my wallet, with my keys because I just came from the gym, all because that establishment had no shopping carts. I'm going to need them to do better. And furthermore, if I see anybody walking the streets of Los Angeles with an abundance of shopping carts, or that a number that I deem just out of the ordinary, I will report you. I'm sorry, I will report you. Because ain't that many cans in the world for you to be collecting where you need all of those damn shopping carts. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me. So those are my two little funny stories that I wanted to share with you guys before I actually delve into some things that you all really want to talk about. So if you're a sports fan out there listening, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. The good news, NFL fans and most men throughout this country, is the Taylor Swift nonsense has died down. The bad news, if you're a sports fan, is the National Football League continues to put the New York Jets and the New York Giants in primetime games on national television. Speaking of Taylor Swift, because I did a pod I don't know how long ago it was, but you all think that, especially women think that I don't like Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. Am I a Swiftie by any means? No, I'm not a Swiftie. I'm never going to call myself a Swiftie. I like her. I respect her artistry, but no. At the beginning of the year, that stunt that the NFL was doing where they basically were selling ass, mentioning her name every 5 seconds during the broadcast, and I get it. They're trying to appease to a different demographic, and it worked successfully. It really did. But where I draw the line as a sports fan, as a sports commentator, as a sports analyst, a sports pundit, whatever you want to call me, is when people start making it seem like Travis Kelce's struggles are linked to her not being at football games. So this past Sunday, the Chiefs were over in Germany. They won the football game, but Travis Kelce only had 3 receptions for 14 yards. Newsflash. This goes for the Swifties. This goes for NFL fans. This goes for the National Football League. The reason Travis Kelce has games where he struggles is because teams are double teaming him. I know it's going to sound like a shocker, and it really puts a pin in the narrative that Travis Kelce doesn't play well when his boo Taylor Swift is not in attendance. But no, if you actually watch football and watch sports, you know that that is ridiculous. The reason Travis Kelce struggles sometimes is because teams are double teaming him because the Chiefs have no one else to respect. No disrespect to Sky Moore or Marquise Valdez-Scantling, but they are not number 1 receivers. Hell, they might even be number 2 receivers. So with that being said, everyone knows the ball is going to 87 on the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes knows that. Travis Kelce knows that. The defense knows that. The fans in attendance know it. So all they're doing is bracketing Travis Kelce, sliding safeties and cornerbacks and nickelbacks to him, which is reducing his effect or input on the game. And mind you, the Chiefs are probably, I wouldn't say as successful, but they've enjoyed a certain level of success when they use Travis Kelce as a decoy. Travis Kelce doesn't have to have games where he goes off for 150 yards, 10 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Just his mere presence on the field alone attracts attention, whether Taylor Swift is in the skybox or not in the skybox. Now, I expect her to be at Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, Nevada, if the Chiefs somehow happen to make it there, which is one of the reasons why I'm rooting for the Chiefs to not make it to Super Bowl 58. I don't want to see her at Super Bowl 58. I know that sounds like hate. I know it sounds like hate. I'm just being honest, though. If they're going to make the entire night about her being in attendance at the game, I'm not interested in seeing it. At this point, they might as well let her perform. Just have her going after Usher. Just have her going after Usher. But thankfully, news on that front has died down somewhat. Not entirely or completely. But that's why they say in life you have to be careful what you ask for. Because while I was crying for the NFL to stop showing Taylor Swift every 5 minutes during their broadcast at the beginning of the season, now they won't stop doing it with Aaron Rodgers. And this goes to show you that this is not me just harping on Taylor Swift because I have nothing else better to do or because I want to be a media bully. No, I'm tired of the NFL showing us Aaron Rodgers. We get it. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles first game of the season. 4 plays into his tenure as a New York Jets starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers went down with a season-ending injury. Now, Aaron Rodgers appears to be progressing faster than normal, ahead of schedule, but ESPN, CBS, ABC, all of these networks. How many times are you going to show us Aaron Rodgers before the game? If he's not throwing slants during the game, I don't want to see it. I'm wishing him a speedy and healthy recovery. The NFL is 100% better when Aaron Rodgers is playing on the football field. We know that. We know that. And it was deflating to see Aaron Rodgers go down because we are now subjugated to seeing Zach Wilson and his anemic self try and move this offense up and down the field, which is, I mean, the Jets and Giants do not deserve any more primetime games. The Jets got smoked on Monday Night Football, 27-6 by the Chargers. It was a nasty, nasty performance. And don't get me started on 2 weeks ago when the Jets and Giants played what I would just a shit bowl. It was like 12 punts in that game. Just anemic offenses. So Aaron Rodgers not being on the sideline for the Jets is not only devastating if you're a Jets fan, it's devastating if you're a fan of football considering the expectations this team had going into the season. But enough of showing us Aaron Rodgers before the game. I get it. Aaron Rodgers is really on a fast track to possibly return before the season's over. But if I have the same energy with Taylor Swift, even though it's not apples to oranges because Taylor Swift is not an actual football player, I got to keep the same energy with Aaron Rodgers. I only want to see players that are actually playing, which brings me to Damar Hamlin. Now, a lot of you all might not like this next take from me, but it's good for you all because I don't give a damn. I really don't give a damn, whether you like it or not. Damar Hamlin has not played all season, to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. He's not played a game all season. But obviously, Sunday Night Football was a bit of an emotional night for Damar and for fans of football. If you remember what happened to him tragically, I believe it was almost 310 days ago. Like, we almost saw someone die on the football field. But he didn't die, thankfully. And now he's back in the National Football League. But my question is, if he's not playing, what's the purpose of having him on the roster other than, hey, this guy almost died a year ago. Let's all rally around him and we'll show him off at every opportune chance we get. I just really don't get it. Damar Hamlin was a nondescript football player before the life-altering, life-threatening moment. He's still been a nondescript football player post-life-altering, life-threatening moment. So I'm really trying to figure out what his purpose is on the Bills roster. And it's not like the Bills don't need help defensively. The Bills are one game away from being at 500. They've not been good. Josh Allen's been an up and down roller coaster. And again, I'm not making a big deal about it. I'm not saying I want Damar Hamlin out of the league. I'm just trying to figure out what the Bills are doing with him. What is his purpose for being on the team if he's not going to play? Because if you're going to tell me that he's not medically cleared or he's not ready to play, then my retort to that would be, hey, why is he on the team? Why is he on the team? After the Bills and Bengals game went off, there was coverage of Damar Hamlin going to midfield, and I get it. You know, if he wants to do that, that's fine. But can we focus on people who are actually playing? That goes for Aaron Rodgers, Taylor Swift, Damar Hamlin. I'm focusing on players who are actually playing the sport. That's it. I'm not asking for too much. And again, I'm not mad at the NFL. The NFL is by far the best sport in America. Like, we know that. They're by far the best sport in America. No disrespect to the National Basketball Association, which I'm going to talk about them in a few minutes. But the NFL knows that they are king in this country. And I think that's sometimes why they operate as if they have impunity. Because no matter how frustrated we get, no matter how many parlays they ruin, no matter how suspect the officiating is, which there is a lot of suspect officiating in the National Football League. I always ask myself that question. If people found out that professional sports were rigged or that they were rigging the outcomes of games, would you still watch it? Would you still watch it? It's a good question. I've always pondered that because I always feel like I'm a conspiracy guy. You can call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy guy. I think everything is rigged. I think everything is being doctored or altered. And I think what confuses people is you hear things like, oh, reality TV, but it's like reality TV is scripted. Don't even get me started on our political system, which, by the way, there are no basketballs basketball games being played when I record this podcast because today is election day across the country. I don't knock anybody who votes. I don't knock anybody who votes. I don't knock anybody who doesn't vote. To each its own. But the political theater that Congress in this country plays is ridiculous. The political football that they play is ridiculous. Neither side is actually serious about doing anything for the American people. And how I know that is because their actions reinforce that every single time. All they do is try to weaponize people against the other side by using fear-mongering tactics, and that's why I can't subscribe to it. I can't subscribe to it. I'm sorry. I just can't. Like, you're not going to use me as a pawn in your game of political football. Now, for those people who are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, knock yourself out. All I ask is that when you do an honest evaluation of what you're getting out of the party you're supporting, if it adds up at the end of the day, then so be it. But if it doesn't, then you're going to have to ask yourself some seriously tough questions. What are we doing? What's going on? Who's responsible for this? I firmly believe this is the best of the worst countries in the world, but the United States is a mess. And the main reason we're a mess is because the people that have been elected or that we've trusted to lead us couldn't lead themselves out of a paper bag. And that goes for people on both sides of the aisle. So I don't want anybody out there to think that I'm choosing sides. And the whole, oh, well, let's choose the lesser of two evils is a stupid argument. I don't want either side. The analogy I always give to people is if I tell you, hey, I want to take you to a restaurant, and you say, that's fine. What are they offering? They have steak on the menu, or they have seafood. If you say, I don't eat red meat and I'm allergic to seafood, what else you got for me? I can't say, well, that's the only two options you got. You're either going to eat red meat tonight or you're just going to have an allergic attack. You better have some Benadryl in your purse. That's ridiculous. You would say, I don't want either. I'm not compromising myself because I don't eat red meat, and I'm not about to die for seafood, even though some seafood is to die for. I feel bad for people who have seafood allergies. I feel bad for anybody who has any type of allergies. Seasonal allergies, which I'm suffering from. Anybody who's allergic to peanut butter. Anybody who's allergic to tomatoes. Like, imagine yourself not being able to eat like ketchup or just like spaghetti sauce. That's tough. I'm not gonna lie, that is tough. But like I was saying, you're not roping me into that political football. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And the media does it too. The media does it with athletes all the time. The NBA does it. The NFL does it. Like, for example, Adam Silver. I like Adam Silver as a commissioner. I really do. Excuse me. I like Adam Silver as a commissioner. But Adam Silver needs to stop. He's being disingenuous. Adam Silver was asked about his thoughts on the NBA's All-Star game, which we know has been a disaster for I would say at least the last 6 or 7 years. Don't even get me started on the NBA All-Star game last year in Utah. Don't even get me started on it. But I want to pull up these quotes because I don't want to misquote Adam Silver. I want to read you all what Adam Silver said. So ESPN has an article out. And in the article, they basically say Adam Silver is taking accountability for the players' lack of urgency when it comes to playing in the All-Star game. Chris Paul took it a step further by citing that because the NBA put so much pomp and circumstance into All-Star Weekend and the All-Star Game specifically, it deviates from what the players are normally accustomed to, bringing up things such as the elongated halftimes. He's saying that halftime is long because they do live entertainment. Usually they bring in an artist or a rapper or whoever to perform for the fans. And the pregame routine rituals which usually last a long time because they're going through player introductions, but it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. Chris Paul, you need to knock it off. Adam Silver, you need to knock it off. Y'all know good and damn well that the NBA All-Star Game sucks because the players are too lazy. Too lazy. And the argument we religiously hear is, well, they're not trying to get injured in a meaningless game or in an exhibition game. That's cap. No one's trying to hear that. Because we see all throughout the summer, y'all be up in New York at Chris Brickley's gym, running 5-on-5s, going ham. throwing alley-oops, pulling up from half court, playing defense when the other team has point game. So stop it. Knock it off. We're not asking you guys to go out there and give max effort for 48 minutes. All we're asking is to not see uncontested layup lines for the majority of the night. That's all we're asking. At least fake like you're interested in playing some type of defense. But then I thought to myself, and I'm going to calm down because I feel like I'm getting passionate now. I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Why am I mad at the NBA All-Star game and how it's played and the players' mentality surrounding it when in actuality it's just a reflection of what we see on a nightly basis? I mean, just the other night, I saw a team get smacked by 40 points. 40. The Pacers put up 151 points. The Celtics put up, I believe, 150 points. This is what we're seeing routinely, night in and night out in the NBA. This is what we're seeing. Teams are jacking up threes left and right. A team can miss 30 threes. You can bet your bottom dollar there's another 30 getting hoisted up. This is where we're at. And I don't want to come across as the get off my lawn guy or back in my day, our era was this kind of guy, but it is what it is. I shouldn't even get mad that they're almost scoring 200 points in an NBA All-Star game when on a random Tuesday, the Indiana Pacers are dropping 151 points on the San Antonio Spurs. How is that even possible? How are you even getting up and down the court that much where you almost touching all-star game numbers, scoring 170 points in regulation? No overtime. No overtime. You getting clapped by 40? Come on now. This is why sometimes I say the NBA is unwatchable. The NFL is too, but because of their officiating. The NBA is unwatchable because of their officiating, but also because this is what we're getting. The No Defense Association, the NDA. Now, were they scoring points in the 80s and 90s? Of course they were. But the level of competition when it came to the All-Star game and the overall feeling around it was, this is a special event. I'm not sure what year this switch happened. I'm not sure when things changed, but we can all see that they've changed. And mind you, it's not even like this is a thing that's happening second quarter, third quarter. This is happening from the moment the refs tip the ball. From the moment the refs tip the ball. No defense being played. Guys just letting guys blow past each other. It's disrespectful to the fans who pay their hard-earned money to come out and see that. And the only way something is going to change is if Adam Silver has the courage and backbone to sit down all the players. A players-only meeting. No coaches, no executives. All the players and Adam Silver and says, hey, look, I know this is going to sound like a really foreign concept, but most of you in this room are getting paid millions of dollars. You will play the All-Star game if you're voted or selected, and you will give max effort. You will give max effort. You know why you will give max effort? Because it's a part of your work description. It's a part of your job. We're not asking you to do anything extracurricular. It's not like we're asking you to come off break in the summertime to go play some random Joes in Rutgers Park in New York. We're asking you to put on a show and a performance for the fans who support you all night in and night out. This is why I always tell people the power is with the people. If people stop supporting piss poor shit, things would change. But as long as I'm continuing to get revenue or to line my pockets, I don't give a damn what the product looks like. I couldn't help but think about that when I was watching the Carolina Panthers game the other night. They played the Indianapolis Colts at home. The Carolina Panthers are a dog shit team. They are not good. If it's one thing I know about football right now, it's that Bryce Young stinks. The former Alabama quarterback who was drafted #1 overall, he is not a good quarterback. He's not ready to play in the NFL right now. He's not in a good situation. He has no receivers to throw to. Chuba Hubbard is a nice, good back, but outside of that, that team is a mess. Yet and still, when tip-off happened, I saw a lot of fans in the stadium, and I get it. Tickets are probably cheap, and if you have loved ones, friends, or kids who love football, which I do, now is the best time to watch the Carolina Panthers because when they get good, you probably won't be able to afford premium seating at the stadium. That's the unfortunate reality. But does anyone actually deserve to witness, to sit through 3 hours of that bullshit? Hell no, of course not. Of course not. Bryce Young threw 3 interceptions this past Sunday. 2 of them were pick sixes. They only scored 13 points and got beat by 2 touchdowns. Who is paying hard-earned money to do that? If you want to throw 3 hours of your life away and spend money simultaneously. Just go to a strip club. Just go to a strip club. I can assure you, if you go to a strip club and you spend money for 3 hours, the aesthetics, the ambiance, the visuals, much better than what you would have saw at the Carolina Panthers Stadium this past Sunday. Much better. And cheaper. Much cheaper, probably. And better food. So if fans want to see a change with the NBA All-Star Game, it's going to require Adam Silver being honest with himself. He has to be honest with himself. And Chris Paul does too. I like Chris Paul, but stop, Chris Paul. Come on. You know better. You know better. God forbid you guys have to wait in halftime. God forbid you guys have to wait in the locker room a little longer than you normally do. Oh my gosh. My whole routine is just thrown out of whack. I don't know how I'm going to function. Chris Paul, you've been in the league for how long? Most people that get selected to the All-Star Game are veterans. So this is not your first rodeo. I would respect the athletes if they just came out and say, hey, look, we're not feeling this concept no more. We don't want to play in the game. Be honest with the fans. Just tell us, we don't want to play in the game. We think it's meaningless. We think it's pointless. But to sit there and make it seem like, well, if you guys tweak this, then maybe we'll come back and we'll actually give a FUCK, it's a slap in our face. You don't care because you don't care. It has nothing to do with the league. It has nothing to do with the current format. Because this current format has been in existence when people from yesteryear were playing. And if they did have a problem with it, it sure as hell didn't show when they stepped on the court on Sunday. But see, that's when you have to ask yourself, we got to be honest with ourselves. Because if somebody was giving me fully guaranteed money, and I was making more money than those who came before me, what's the incentive for me to actually give a fuck? Seriously, what's the incentive? Outside of your own pride and just how you want to be remembered and how you want to represent yourself, what's the incentive? Who cares if we scored 200 points? Who cares if we scored 300 points? Fans are still going to watch, which I'm one of them. I'm never not going to watch the NBA, the NFL. I'm never not going to watch WWE, even though it's undergone transition as society has changed and evolved. So they got me. They got most of us. We're lifers. And oftentimes when you know that this person's not going anywhere, you tend to take advantage of that relationship. And that's what NBA players are doing. That's what they have been doing. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw what Adam Silver said. I was disgusted because Adam Silver knows better than this, man. He knows better than this. I want to pull this up because I don't want to misquote him, but I feel like I nailed everything that he said. Name of the article, Adam Silver sees path to more competitive NBA All-Star Game. Adam Silver says he takes responsibility for the lack of intensity in the NBA All-Star Game. That's when Chris Paul says, you guys tell us how important the All-Star Game is, but then you change all our pregame protocols so that we don't go through our typical routines as we would before a game because you have these elaborate introductions. Yeah, okay, Chris Paul, I hear you. No complaint about the introductions. And see, this is my pet peeve. I want everyone in this room listening. This is my pet peeve because you all will experience this when you're going through either personal things with friends, family members, significant others. Everyone in this room that's listening right now, if you're listening at home, if someone brings something up and then says, not that I care about that, obviously they care about it. Because if they didn't care about it, they wouldn't have brought it up in the first place. This is one of my pet peeves. Chris Paul in one breath said, this is what you call talking out of both sides of your face. Chris Paul in one breath said, you guys are changing our pregame protocols because of the lengthy introductions. I mean, not that I care about introductions, so then why bring it up in the first place, Christopher? Why bring it up? I'm not making this up. You guys can go check out the article right now on ESPN.com. I am not making this up. Why bring up the fact that the introductions are lengthy if it's not a concern to you? Clearly it is. I'm not saying what level of concern it is to you, but clearly you are bothered by it and you highlighted it and cited it as one of the reasons why players are going out there and performing in a piss poor manner. Unacceptable. He goes on to say, we understand why you do it, but then you expect us then to go out and be in the mindset that we're playing a typical basketball game. Okay. Adam Silver says, so that's why I say I'll take responsibility. we're sending mixed signals. And if we want guys to treat this like a real game, and again, this is not about finals intensity, it's just a fun game. But if we want players to treat it that way, we have to treat it that way. And so if that means introduction is going to have a little bit shorter and halftime is going to have to be a little bit typical starting in Indianapolis. Adam Silver, your players are getting compensated. This is not overtime. They should be treating the game as such because it is a part of their profession. I cannot believe we are having this conversation in 2023, but the fact that we are lets me know that we're in 2023. We are in the PC, coddle, hug-a-thug generation. We want to treat and handle everyone with kid gloves. You can't say this. You can't do this. We've got to make sure people have emotional. You know, I was thinking about that the other day too. Think about that. And I might lose some of you with this, but I really want you all to think about this. This is no offense to anybody who has an emotional support animal. But just imagine if someone came and took humans and dropped them in the wilderness and said, you are going to be assigned to this animal because he or she needs you around 24/7 to function and cope. People say, oh, I don't eat animals because that's cruel, or I don't want to put that in my body. But you will gladly parade around a dog or a cat or whatever in your apartment, and some of you do it under the guise of, well, I get sad or I get lonely or I get depressed. That's fine. I receive all that. But just on the flip side, imagine if someone came and started plucking humans from their apartments and said, this giraffe or tiger or cheetah needs a human to function. So you're going to be assigned to him 24/7 to help him or her get through their day. Like what do we be talking about? But I get it. Mental health is the new flavor of the month. A couple of years ago when I started preaching and promoting the benefits of going to therapy, I was kind of early to the party, and I'm not anti-therapy 5 years later. But here's the thing. People don't understand that therapy is good, but you have to actually apply what you're being taught or what you're learning. If you're not practicing what she or he is telling you, then essentially all you're doing is venting, which most of you, I'm sure, do to either your friends or family. Now, I will admit there is a benefit in having a non-biased and unbiased, non-partisan party where you can just basically tell it all to without, fear of judgment or them actually spreading your business. There is real benefit and value in that. But a lot of you all go to therapy because you like to hear yourself talk. And when I say a lot of you, I'm in that category. That's why I was going. It was a great venting session for me. But when I went home and sat with myself and actually did the homework, it's like, are you really applying anything that you're learning? And maybe I was. But ultimately, it gave me an opportunity to do the two things that I like to do, which is talk and hear myself talk. Being honest with you guys, being totally transparent. But nowadays, everything is mental health this. You can't say anything about anyone because someone's going to have a mental breakdown. I mean, people got to get tougher, man. You have to get tougher. Life is not sweet. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Life is not sweet. It's going to be filled with ups and downs. As much as people may clown Russell Wilson, one of the things I respect about him is Russell Wilson said, I am focused on being even keel. Meaning when something great happens in my life, I don't get too high. When something negative happens in my life, I don't get too low. That's the hard part. Everyone knows that's how you should be optimally, because life inevitably has peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows. But the hardest part is how do you get to a space where you can do that? Where once you get a promotion and you're enjoying some success, whether it's financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, you don't let that go to your head. But conversely, when you may be down in the dumps, you may have gotten fired. You may have lost your apartment. You may have lost a loved one. You may have broken up with your significant other. How do you not let that feeling feel like it's the end of the world? That's the real challenge. Because I got news for you. It's not the end of the world. No one knows when the world is going to end. There may be things that we experience in this lifetime that feel like the end of the world. But whatever is happening to you specifically on your individual bubble, the The world's going to keep going. My mom told me that at a young age, the world doesn't revolve around you, buddy. She told me at a young age, the world does not revolve around you. And to this day, 30 years old, I still remember that because it's true. It's true. It doesn't matter what happens to me. People are still going to have to get up and go to work tomorrow. People are still going to be launching new podcasts. I'm sitting in the studio with someone who's new to the podcast industry, so shout out to her. Shout out to everybody who is a content creator, aspiring content creator, or is just taking the initiative to create their own. I put that on Facebook a couple of days ago. If people won't give you a platform, create your own. The reason I love this show, the Mark My Word Show, is because I can talk about whatever I want on this show. I can talk to whoever I want. I've not been bought and paid for, so my morals are not compromised. The beauty in what I'm doing right now is this is 100% owned, operated, and ran by me. All of the opinions you hear on this show, all of the commentary is coming from one person, Marcus-Lamar. Me. It's all on me. The success or failure of this show is all on my shoulders. Is it a lot of pressure? Yes, it is. But it's what I asked for. It's what I asked for. I can't seem to put my finger on it, but there seems to be a growing segment of people who want podcasts to go away. And without being disrespectful, if anybody is advocating both in private or publicly for podcasts to go away, respectfully, you can go to hell. Because I see a bunch of people saying, oh, this person doesn't deserve a platform. This person doesn't deserve a podcast. Everybody wants to start podcasts. This is lame. This is not cool. Why everybody got something to say all of a sudden? There's a lot of people who don't deserve quote unquote platforms. But I still see people tweeting and Instagramming and TikToking till the cows come home. So what's the issue now? I like podcasting because I'm an opinionated person. And it takes a lot to actually put an opinion out into the ethosphere and watch how people react to it. I'm one of those people, I read every single comment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason I laugh at some of you all out there, some of you I know, some of you I don't, is because most of the times the negative commentary is not based on the content that I'm saying. It's ad hominem attacks. It's personal. Oh, your head's too big. Or, just I read it all. And the reason I read it all is because it does not faze me, because I'm still going to come in and do what I do regardless. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, hey, should I start this? And it doesn't even have to be a podcast. It could be a business. Just remember, people are going to talk shit about you whether you do or don't do. That's the reality. I literally called LegalZoom a couple of days ago because I was trying to get information on how I can trademark my brand. Somehow that conversation turned into me helping the lady find equipment for her podcast that she's trying to launch with her friend. I was like, where did this conversation, when did it switch? I don't even remember what happened, but she said she was from the West Coast, and I told her, oh, I live in LA. She's like, well, yeah, what are you doing this for? I said, I got a podcast, I got a show. And she's like, well, I'm trying to start a podcast too, me and my homegirl. I said, oh, number one rule, and I'm not even, quote unquote, an established podcaster. If you're starting a podcast, if you don't want to do it from the comforts of your home, you have to go into a studio, top tier studio. If you're in LA, Studio Place LA. All right, top tier studio. But if you do choose to do it from home because you don't have the finances or whatever, or time to go into an actual studio, you have to invest in quality equipment. You just have to. You got to have a good mic. And when I say a good mic, it may run you a couple $100s, but it is an investment. I do long-term math. So if I pay $500 for a mic and that mic lasts me 3 years, what's the math on that? I'm no math whiz. Anyone in the room know? No, I'm joking. It's $150 per year, right? $150 per year. We could break it down further. $150 per year is what? Divided by 12. Anybody good on that? Rhetorical question. But the point I'm making is you got to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself until someone's willing to invest in you. Then you can sort of think about, okay, what do you want to do? So while I may, brag or boast, hey, this show is all on me. Of course, at some point, everyone needs help along the way. I'm definitely open to help and investors, but You got to believe in yourself. Don't let anyone discourage you because, like I said, people going to talk shit whether you do or whether you don't. That's just the God's honest truth. That's just the God's honest truth. They are. They are. Excuse me. For those of you who don't know where you can find my show, I'm on all major streaming platforms. I actually just started on Patreon too. Patreon, for those of you who are not familiar, is another great app that is content creator friendly. Obviously, we know YouTube is like the mega machine. YouTube be killing me with them damn ads, man. And I know that sounds bad because I am looking for advertisers and sponsors, and I know that's how people get paid. But 2 ads in 15 seconds, I get it. But damn. And it's always right at the crescendo of the video you want. Like, it's always at the best parts. Kind of like when you're driving around and you're listening to a song and the GPS always seems to come on and tell you to turn right or turn left at your favorite part of the song. Now, I did find out that if you are using Waze, you can mute that voice. I did find that out. I don't know this to be true, so do not take what I'm saying as gospel. But if that is true, then I got to test it out on the way home. I got to test it out because I do hate that. But YouTube is obviously like it's my favorite app. I tell people that all the time. There is nothing that you can't find on YouTube. I know TikTok has gotten people into, how to do this. But anytime I want to know how to do something or learn how to do something, you type it into Google, and usually there's a YouTube video on it. YouTube is phenomenal. But Patreon is also phenomenal. I'm on Patreon as well, the Mark My Word Show on YouTube, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple, as well as Google Podcasts for all you Android users. I don't even know who still uses Androids in 2023. I know for me, a deal breaker for me, ladies, if you're listening and you happen to see this visual and you like what you see, a deal breaker for me is if you use an Android. I'm sorry. First date, I'm asking you that. Do you have an Android phone? If you do, and we happen to go further or progress, I will kindly assist you in buying an iPhone. I would. Because, what are we doing? And y'all always try to convince us, Apple's always late to the party. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm not denying that Android or Google devices might actually be better than ours. I'm just never getting an Android. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I've been with Team iPhone since I don't know what module or number. iPhones are dummy proof. And yes, when y'all say they are for dummies, yes, they're simple. That's why I like them. I don't got time to be sliding my finger across the screen to unlock it. I don't have time for that. Let me put in 4 numbers or 6 numbers and call it a day. I don't trust people who have Androids and who eat boneless wings. I've been very, very, very clear about this for years. Boneless wings are chicken nuggets draped in sauce. They are not actual chicken. If you like boneless wings, to each its own, but I'm not a fan of boneless wings. If we're out in public and you order boneless wings, I'm going to judge you. I am going to judge you. And while I'm on the topic of food, I saw a video the other day on Twitter. Gotta love Twitter. Or is it X? Do y'all call it X? Anybody in here call it X? No one calls it X? I'm not calling it X either. No disrespect to Elon Musk. It's Twitter. I still call it Twitter. So I was on Twitter and there was some fake outrage because that's everyone's new thing. Everyone, I'm outraged. Everyone likes to be mad about stuff. And they were having a debate about what's proper brunch etiquette. Now, I'm sure everyone in this room enjoys a good brunch. I enjoy a good brunch. But here's my thing. In the video, and shout out to Meek Mill. In the video, you hear Dreams and Nightmares, the song by Meek Mill playing. 10 years later, I don't know when that song came out. I think it was early 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. It was sometime when I was in college. Shout out to Meek because that song is still a hit all these years later. A couple of years ago, I was like, can we please retire that song? But when it comes on in the spot and you see what it does to people and how it makes them feel, that song is never going anywhere. It's up for the rest of life with that song. Shout out to Meek. He got a hit with that one. But that song came on and the spot went up. And people were like, I don't see not a single French toast, bacon, grit bowl, oatmeal, eggs in sight. People were disgusted because they didn't see any food in sight. What they did see was a lot of ass shaking. They saw a lot of ass shaking, a lot of debauchery. Now, if you're not a fan of that at brunch, I don't know what to tell you. It is very well possible that the people in this video ate, had a few mimosas, and decided they wanted to enjoy themselves, which it appears to be at a spot in D.C. I want to say on 8th Street. Shout out to D.C. Lived in the DMV for a couple of years. But I didn't have a problem with the video. My only concern or issue with the video was there was a young man who was standing on the couch, and I know he probably had a few mimosas in him. He was dangerously close to the ledge. One false move, and Buddy would have been bye-bye. Now the whole event would have been shut down, and it would have put a damper on everybody's brunch. But come on, if you ever been to brunch in a major city, y'all know the vibes. Y'all know exactly what goes on. New York, Atlanta, DC, there are certain cities that are known for brunch. Now again, you might not feel comfortable ordering French toast, eggs, or whatever you get at breakfast, and when you look to your left or your right, you see somebody twerking on their significant other. That might not be your aesthetic or your vibe. I'm not here to judge. But for some people, that's what they're going for. So you got to do your homework on these spots before you go in there. Like I said, if you pay attention to the video, there was a lot going on. There's a lot of aunties in the video, too. Look like a lot of aunties. But there was a lot going on. It looked like a lot of young people, too, like people under 25. Ugh. There's a lot going on. But do your homework before you go into these spots, before you hop on social media and start judging. Some people like ass shaking with grits and eggs at 12 or 1 or 2 in the afternoon. It's the reality. Some people do. I'm not saying that I do. I'm also not saying that I'm opposed to it either. Now, before I get out of here, I want to end the show. Hope you all are enjoying it. If you made it this far in the episode, that means you're doing really good. I know everyone has a short attention span these days, but I don't believe that. People will sit and watch and listen to what they want for however long they want if they really enjoy it. You just got to find a way to make compelling content. That's the trick. Got to find a way to make compelling content, because I could sit and watch 3-4 hour videos on stuff that I'm into. Before I get out of here, I want to address Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill. For those of you who don't know, Lauryn Hill is a decorated singer, artist, and recently she took what most people would perceive to be a crap on her fans when she basically showed up to a show and said, hey, look, I know I'll be late to all of my shows, but I don't care about none of that shit. Y'all should be lucky that I'm even showing up and I'm on this stage right now. This is what she said. I'm not making this up. This is what she said. And when I initially heard the comments, I said, Lauryn Hill, you've got some nerve. The audacity of you. You put out an album, a classic album, albeit. A classic album in 1998 when I was just 5 years old. I was born in 1993. You put out a classic album when I was 5 years old in 1998. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. It is 25 years later, and you are still living off that one album. And you have the nerve to look people in their face and tell them, after they paid to come to your show, that they should be lucky and thankful that you even showed up because you are consistently tardy? I mean, you got to be out of your mind. But you know what? That was my initial reaction. But then I took a step back and I said, only thing I ask out of people in life is to show up as whoever you are, wherever you're at in your point in life consistently. Lauryn Hill spoke honestly and authentically from the heart. I might not agree with what she said, but I respect the fact that that's what she felt in that moment and she let her fans have it. Now, if they continue to support her moving forward, that's a them problem, not a her problem. But if we're really being honest, Lauryn Hill, Miss Hill, Lauren, if you're nasty, if you were really being honest, you put out an album 25 years ago and we ain't heard shit from you since. So don't try to make it seem like, oh, y'all should be lucky I'm even here because I don't have to do this when you've been missing or MIA for 25 years. And then what really bothered me about Lauryn Hill was the fact that she had the nerve to invoke God while she was giving this ridiculous speech. I hate when people do that. I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in God. But don't sit up there and say, oh, I'm here by the grace of God or God. No. Don't do that. When you on bullshit time, stand up to it, own it, be accountable. Don't try to bring God into it. This how you know when somebody's lying. When somebody is lying or they know they're guilty of doing something flagrant, they will almost always drop God because that is a soft spot for most people. We got her. We got you, Lauryn Hill. Just say, yo, I don't like showing up on time, or I like to be fashionably late, or I suck at making travel accommodations. But to sit up there and make it seem like, yo, y'all should be lucky I'm even doing these shows. It's like, okay, if you don't do the show, we'll just go listen on Apple Music. Like, what am I missing here? You had an album that had some bops 25 years ago, sis. 25 years ago. It's 2023. Now, I will say, I will give Lauryn Hill credit. She's living off this album for as long as she has, and I want her to continue to make money and enjoy success. But Lauryn Hill is the Doc Rivers of music. I've never seen one coach get more out of one championship than Doc Rivers. Never seen it. Doc Rivers, and I'm not going to lie, I used to think he was a good coach because he won that title with the Celtics in 08, and the Celtics did have a lot of good seasons under Doc Rivers. But Doc Rivers is not a good coach. He's the poster child for 3-1 collapses. But most people might say Doc Rivers is probably going to make the Hall of Fame because he did get Boston a chip. He did get them to 2 finals, had them in a couple of Eastern Conference finals. So his resume looks good, but come on. Lauryn Hill, you are the Doc Rivers of music. He milked that 1 chip. You milked this 1 album. And it's going to sound like hate, but it's not hate. But you can't sit up there and tell your fans, hey, y'all should be lucky I'm on this stage, even though I'm royally late every single time. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you always late? So yeah, not too much on Lauryn Hill, but enough on her. Because I've had enough of her. Oh man, that was good. If you made it this far, if you reached this part of the show, that means you made it to the end of the episode. I want to thank everybody out there for listening. For those of you who are listening via audio, I appreciate you. I hope I didn't sound too congested. For those of you who are watching me on YouTube and Patreon, shout out to you guys. I appreciate the continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Marc My Word Show. I'm steadily trying to grow that channel, so be sure to subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff that people be saying. In addition to that, in the meantime, in between time, be sure to leave a review on this episode on Apple Podcasts. Reviews are very, 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 very important. Whether you loved, or hated the show, let me know. I want to hear from you guys. If you have ways that I can improve or content that you would like me to cover moving forward, I am also open to that. I thank everybody out there for listening. I hope this podcast finds you all in a great space. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, stay blessed. Until next time, you'll be hearing from me again. Mark my words.